Okay, so it's week 8, and this is the last lab you'll be doing. Next week, of course, week 9. That's the end. 9 weeks in a grading period, and so this in this lab we're going to focus on measurements and conversions and area perimeter and scale drawing. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to find the dimensions of your bedroom. Okay, then we're going to use customary standard measurements. So we're talking about inches, feet, and yards. That's what we're working in. Okay. So there we go. So you know what you're doing. Now here's the thing. What you do is you need some unit. You need a unit to measure in, right? Because we measure in units. Occasionally when I have I do something like this. I send kids home, and then I have students who get stuck because they don't have a measurement tool at home. And since I'm doing this, and I'm giving you this work, this project, and I don't know what you have at your house. If you don't have a ruler or a yardstick or a tape measure, you can also use other things. So something that is a good thing to use would be your foot. So if you put one foot in front of the other, you can measure the length of something. You can also use your hand going up a wall. If you're going to use one of those measurements, let me know, and we'll work out about when we get to 4, 5, and 6, because those are using regular measurements, feet and yards. Okay, so you have the unit. And remember that you're going to find, you can see in the lab paper, you're going to find the perimeter, which is, of course, the area around the edge, the area, which is the length times width. You're going to do the walls, the ceiling. So you'll get everything set up before you move to number 2. 2 and 3 are about drawing. Okay, so at school, I've said this before. I'm very big on getting a sketch, either to show something quickly or to set an idea out there for what I'm going to do in a formal setting. So a sketch is like, when you brainstorm strategies to solve a problem. It's what you do beforehand before you formally actually start the work. So I'm asking for a sketch in 2 and a scale drawing in 3. The measurements you're going to use, so you're going to use measurements. You're going to mark the measurements both in the sketch and the scale drawing. I just want to say something else about the dimensions. In originally where all this came from, the foot was the king's foot. So he actually used, that was a standard measurement. They measured the king's foot, and that's what they decided the foot was. And an inch was part of his finger between 2 knuckles. And so that's how they decided measurements very early on. So this is not like, an unusual thing to use your foot. Okay, so you're going to do the sketch. Make sure that you are drawing it, and you are going to attach that and the scale drawing to this lab. But you're also going to have to make sure that it's visible enough so that I could see it when you're taping your flip grid. The scale drawing, we need to make sure that you have 2 things in the scale drawing. You need to make sure that you're noting what your scale is, and then on the lab, you're showing what the ratio is. So the ratio between what the scale measurement is and what the real measurement is. Okay, so I have a scale. So if I'm saying, like a block or an inch, whatever, depending on if I'm using graph paper, if it's, that represents 1 foot. Okay, so 1 foot, and my length that I'm measuring that is 6 feet. That means that that one block or that one unit is equal to 6 feet. Okay, and so I need to make sure that I'm getting that organized so I can see that that scale drawing is actually proportional to your real measurements. Okay. Okay, now we're going to move to the part where you're going to actually use the measurements to find out some things. How much carpet would you need for your floor? How much paint would you need for the walls? And how much paint for the ceiling? So before we go forward, I want to make sure that this is clear. Carpet is sold in square yards. Paint covers square feet. Okay? So just a little reminder, we went over this a couple of times in school when we were actually in school. So I want to make sure that we got this. This is a yard. Okay, this would be a yard or 3 feet. Okay? This, however, is a square yard. You know my drawings are horrible, so go ahead, you can laugh. So this is 1 yard by 1 yard, okay? So that's 1 square yard, okay? But it's not 3 feet because this is 3 feet by 3 feet, right? Because a yard is 3 feet. And if we take that into consideration, then this square yard is actually 9 square feet. So you can't just say, I have this many feet and I'm going to divide it by 3. It's not going to work out. It's not going to work out for feet and inches, and it doesn't work out for yards and feet. So depending on how you've measured your wall and your floors and ceiling, you need to make sure you're being very conscious of that. Okay, so even if I have it in feet or I have it in inches, just one more little diagram here. This is a square foot, right? I have a 1 foot by 1 foot. This is 1 square foot. But actually, in inches, it's not just 12. It's this foot is 12 inches and this foot is 12 inches. And a 1 square foot is 144 square inches. Okay, so I want to make sure you're remembering that. You've done this before. You did this before 7th grade also. But we went over it in 7th grade, and I want to make sure that that is clear. A couple of things about when you're actually deciding how much you have to buy. So in this, we're looking for square yards in carpet. Let's do that first. When you buy carpet, you buy it in square yards. Okay, so if I need 4.5 square yards to cover something, I have to buy 5. So what you're going to need is make sure that you figure out exactly how many square yards your floor is, and then decide how many you're going to have to buy, because the cost is going to go by full square yards. So if I have 4.5 square yards, that's what I need to cover, okay? I'm going to have to buy 5. Whoop, wait, I need to get rid of that. Okay, here we go. Buy 5 square yards. Okay, so you need to keep that in mind when you're talking about cost. When you're painting, it's the same thing. You need to cover 400, each gallon covers 400 square feet. Now, here's another thing to think about. Are you going to paint your windows? Are you going to paint your doors? No. So you need to figure them out and subtract it from the wall, because the feet you're going to cover are just going to be the actual wall space, not window space or door space. So this is going to be your wall space, and you're going to be taking away, minusing that window, and then that'll be the square feet of paint you need. Okay, so those are some of the things you can think about when you are finishing up this lab. I wanted to make sure, I mean, there aren't real concepts here, but I wanted to make sure that I was giving you the directions I would give you if we were in class. Okay, good job.